Welcome to this explainer where we're going to unmask the incredibly sneaky psychology of procrastination. I mean, we've all dealt with it, right? But today we're going to learn exactly how to defeat this silent thief of your ambition. We're literally breaking down the hidden mechanics in your brain to keep you stuck, and more importantly, how to actually override them. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive in with a pretty tough question. What are you avoiding? See, procrastination isn't just laziness. We love to label ourselves as lazy when we put things off, but you know what? That is a complete misdiagnosis. At its absolute fundamental core, procrastination is the active avoidance of something. So when you catch yourself procrastinating, the very first thing you need to do is stop in your tracks and ask yourself this exact question. What is the actual task, the conversation, or maybe the big decision that you're steering clear of?
Section 1. The root of avoidance. Unmasking the fear.
You know, you aren't just putting off that big project because you don't feel like doing it. You're delaying because you're actually afraid. The source text identifies 4 massive psychological hurdles at play here. You might be terrified of failure, worried about experiencing some kind of loss, fearing rejection from others, or maybe you're anxiously seeking approval. Your brain sees the task you need to do, attaches one of these fears to it, and just violently hits the brakes to protect you.
Section 2. The illusion of perfection and the false sense of control.
Now, sometimes we delay because of a false sense of entitlement. We totally trick ourselves into believing we have absolute control over our lives and circumstances. We basically develop this false idea that there's simply no urgent need to take immediate action. We tell ourselves, oh, I can just knock that report out in an hour on Friday morning, or I can handle this whenever I want. Sound familiar? It's a trap of our own making, completely rooted in a false idea of how much control we actually possess over our time and our future.
And this feeds right into another one of the mind's favorite tricks, looking for the perfect time or the perfect day to start. I mean, how often have you said, I'll start on Monday, or I'll just do it when I have a few clear hours? Well, the reality is that's a total illusion. You're postponing for a day or a time that will literally never happen. There is no such thing as the perfect day. The conditions are never going to be flawless, and waiting for them is just another highly sophisticated form of avoidance.
Moving on to Section 3, Inside the Primitive Brain, the Biological Saboteur.
So the really crucial point here is this biological conflict. On one side, we have our ambitions, right? To achieve anything great, it requires expending energy. It forces us to embrace struggle and, sometimes even pain. But your primitive brain is literally hardwired to do the exact opposite. It zeroes in on our inherent weaknesses, seeking instant pleasure, avoiding struggle at absolutely all costs, and conserving energy instead of burning it. When you try to achieve a massive goal, you're literally fighting thousands of years of evolutionary programming that just wants you to sit still, stay safe, and be perfectly comfortable.
Section 4. The trap of later and the master trick.
As the source text states so perfectly, procrastination is a dream killer. And it's a dream killer precisely because it's so incredibly sneaky in how it operates. It doesn't, loudly announce that it's destroying your ambitions. No, it works quietly in the background, leaning heavily on that primitive self-protection we literally just talked about.
Now, here is the master trick. If that lazy voice in your head told you to just outright quit your desire to do what's best for you, you'd immediately wake up, get angry, and fight back. You'd take action. But the primitive brain is way too clever for that. It doesn't tell you to quit. It merely suggests that we, postpone. It whispers, hey, let's just delay to tomorrow, or let's do it after that big event is over, or we'll start right after the kids go to school. By just pushing it to later, it makes our present moment so much easier. We get that instant pleasure, we successfully avoid the struggle, and crucially, this is the big one, we don't feel guilty because we haven't actually given up. We just rescheduled.
Let's map out exactly how this self-serving loop traps us, because it happens in 4 very predictable steps. Step 1, you face a task where effort is required. Step 2, that sneaky primitive voice pops up and suggests doing it later to avoid the struggle. Step 3, just to ensure we don't feel guilty, we invent a highly creative reason to justify the delay. I mean, we rationalize it perfectly. And finally, Step 4, in order to fully justify our procrastination, we indulge ourselves in some kind of temporary distraction. We scroll on our phones, or suddenly decide that right now is the absolute perfect time to alphabetically organize the spice rack. This behavior runs in a continuous loop, and it's entirely self-serving.
Section 5. Mind over feelings. Defeating the silent thief.
So the solution here is stark, but it's highly actionable. Your conscious mind must always be stronger than your temporary feelings. You simply cannot let your feelings capture you time and time again. Look, your primitive brain will always feel like conserving energy. It's always going to feel like seeking instant pleasure. If you wait until you actually feel like doing the hard work,
You're going to be waiting forever. Your logical, conscious mind has to step in, take the wheel, and be the boss, completely overriding that deep instinct to avoid.
Ultimately, it all comes down to this incredibly powerful quote from the text: feel the feelings and do it anyways. You have to acknowledge the primitive fear. You must acknowledge the discomfort, and yeah, the intense desire to delay. Don't pretend those feelings aren't there, really feel them, but then take action regardless, override the system. So I'll leave you with this final thought as we wrap up this explainer. What is that one crucial thing you're avoiding right now, and what highly creative excuse are you finally going to stop using today?